guys. It is such a pleasure to meet you. I feel like we've probably met in person at some point, at Earl's Place or the Resolution Run. So it's really great to, sit and chat with you. I heard you're all the way in Portland now.
We moved to Portland about a little over 8 years ago. Although we still stay in touch with Baltimore, and it was a hard decision to leave the city.
I completely agree. I actually moved to Tampa about 2 years ago now. My partner got a job out here, and I love what I did in Baltimore. I love working with Earl's Place and Cornerstone Community Housing, and so I still do today.
But we don't work, we're retired.
We're strong supporters of Earl's Place and make contributions every year. In fact, we sponsor the race, I think, as you know, for each resolution run. So
Tell me a little bit about yourselves and how you got involved with Cornerstone Community Housing.
Why don't you start, Bruce, since you were earlier than me in the process?
Well, I was pastor at First and St. Stephen's United Church of Christ for many, many years. And during that time, and I can't tell you exactly when it was, I would suspect the mid-90s, a group of clergy and lay leaders from some of the Baltimore area churches got together to try to envision what a joint ministry in Baltimore might look like, and some of the things that we might do jointly. So we created a group. Now you're going to hear a couple of different names. We first called it Baltimore Urban Ministries, and some of us really liked that name because we could be called bums. But others thought that was so inappropriate. So they called it Buckham, B-U-C-M, Baltimore Urban Churches Ministries, or something like that. But I always liked the bums bit because that spoke about who we were more than anything else. So we started spending some time looking at what some of our joint efforts might be in a variety of ways, including hands-on things or ways to envision this ministry in the city, and to see it in terms of diversity and this sort of thing. So we spent a lot of time studying what that might look like. Interestingly enough, the city that we looked at most, in addition to Baltimore, was Milwaukee, because of the similarities of demographics of the two cities. And for a lot of the UCC churches, they were either African-American or not white, they were German, more precise. And the same with Milwaukee, and had a lot of the same issues and problems connected with. Well, then we ended up getting some funding, and I don't remember how that got about, because I took a sabbatical in the middle of this, and we worked with a consultant. And out of that consultant, we started envisioning a housing project for those people that were seeking to bring their lives around by having some constant housing issues. And so that's how we started United Ministries, which is what I still call it, because Cornerstone came into being after I left. So, and named the original, and it was an overarching project which really got one project going, and that was Earl's Place. And that has really had the amazing success stories that it's had. After Earl Johnson, who was a participant at the Supper Club a lot, which was a feeding program that we also worked with at United Evangelical on Eastern Avenue, which is now closed, but we did a feeding program there once a week. Church took turns doing that, and so we were down there often. And Earl Johnson was a person that sometimes he'd be great help, and sometimes he was a disaster down there, depending on his medication. and he did well there. Eventually joined First United and was a success story. But he lived in a substandard apartment on Broadway. I think it was Broadway, and he became the image of the type of person that we were seeking to provide housing for. Unfortunately, probably because of a epilepsy type of attack, he drowned in the harbor. So, but then that's when we birthed and went in with the consultant and purchased the property where Earl's Place is, and started the development of the project. And we're very fortunate to bring Sheila Helgerson on board to be the director. That's a thumbnail sketch of a history. Does that help?
Yeah, no, of course. I think for a lot of our viewers who will be seeing this later, even for myself, it gives me a lot of background to, how this all came to be, and how you became involved. I know that Sheila had mentioned that Bob was on the chair in around 2002. So you guys have been always, heavily involved, within the community and within United Ministries, now Cornerstone Community Housing.
I
So
was
can you tell me,
chairing the Buckham Committee or the Bombs Committee.
now that we're, it's our last final day of the year, it's December 31st, we're going into the resolution run. Normally we do this in person, and it's usually on January 1st. Tell me a little bit about how the resolution run started.
Okay, this is my part. Bruce and I got together between the time of what he told you, and so I knew a lot of the people who were involved with Earl's Place through Bruce, and I was asked to be on the board and eventually asked to be board chairman. As you know, a nonprofit like Cornerstone has to keep finding money.
Yes.
is the name of the game. So in applying for grants and such, they want to know what you're doing on your own. So while the board was relatively new at all this, we were looking for various ways to raise money so that we could show foundations and government agencies that we were serious about getting the money and keeping the program going. And we tried some dinner dances, and there was a golf tournament, and we were not making much money. And Bruce and I are both long distance runners, and so at the time I'm mainly a walker now, but
I'm not. I still run.
Oh, wow.
well, what do you call it? A shuffle, old fart shuffle.
Well, I'm faster than walk.
And anyway, I, as a runner, wanted to try to do something that would give back to the running community that had enriched my life a lot, as well as raise money for Earl's Place. So we decided to do a 5K run. And the first several we had were in the fall, which is a very busy running time, and we simply couldn't compete. So the first one we did, which was called Home Again, Jiggity Jog.
That's fantastic.
Which is from a nursery rhyme. But we found out that someone over 40 knew the nursery rhyme, someone under 40 didn't know the nursery rhyme. So the name never caught on, and the first several years, we actually lost money on the race. It cost us more to put it on than we were able to collect in registrations and pledges of support. um, sponsors. So, but we kept being told, you got to build up, you got to work at it, and so we kept doing it. And then one of the people who was helped us to organize the race um, said, there is no run on the 1st of January. And I think if you did a resolution run on January 1st, you'd probably get a lot of people who would attend. So we decided to switch it and do it on the 1st of January. And it happened that the 1st of January of the year we did that was a Sunday. And we said, well, since a lot of the supporters are church members, we can't have it during church time. So we decided we'd have it in the afternoon. And we come to find out there were a lot of people who said, I would run more if they all weren't so early in the morning, because I'm not an early person. I really like having this run in the afternoon. And it took off, and we got many more people signing up for it. We had also decided we were going to do chili and cornbread, which the men at Earl's Place actually prepare and serve. So they're actively involved in supporting the race. And some of them have participated in it, which is a good thing also. And so now as you know, it's close to 1,000, something under 1,000 people every year who sign up for it. We have a very dedicated clientele, and Bruce and I continue to sponsor the race each year, and it's one of the big fundraisers for Earl's Place. So even though it started out really rocky, it ended up being a good decision to make to get the race going, and we ended up on the right day at the right time with the right program that a lot of people are very enthusiastic about supporting Earl's Place.
We were also fortunate to get it in Patterson Park. Now, of course, Bob and I had preference for there because we lived on Patterson Park Avenue. So we'd walk over to it at that time, and then we moved on to Bank Street. But in sponsoring a race, one of the big fees in Baltimore is the police. And at Patterson Park, you don't need the police because there's no street crossing. So that became, when we're cutting the bottom line to make it affordable and still have a good race, that became an important part too. We didn't have to get the police permit to do it. And we did stop at the rec hall in Patterson Park a few times, but that became more expensive again, and we were able to take advantage of the Catholic Church Fellowship Hall, and that worked out well. So, and they've been a good participant in supporting it. So, there's a couple logistics things there. And we've run it since we moved to Portland. We sometimes are back there on New Year's Day and run it. Like last year, we were there and ran it, and so that was fun.
And as being older, we
that's wonderful.
got some trophies. This first place male over 70. That's probably Bruce's. These are probably both Bruce's. Third place male, 70 and up. That's probably me, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have quite a number of the Earl Place trophies on our shelves here, and it's.
That's wonderful.
How many times have you done it?
So I've done it once in person, actually in 2019. That's when I started so I started. Yeah, so I started 2019 or 20, it might have been 2018. Um, the first year that I was able to attend, I didn't run, but I took photos. So that was the first
Oh,
year that
all
we
right.
had a slew of, kind of documentation of our resolution run, of our runners, of our donors, of our volunteers, of our members, of the residents. So it was a really great experience just to meet everybody and to engage and see, you know, most people, what they do on January 1st is probably sleep. So it was really nice to see everybody come out and,
Well, it was
be a
after Groundhog
community together.
time. It
Yeah.
was after.
It was also in the afternoon, which I really appreciated. So, and ever since then, and like I said, with me moving to Florida, I've still remained really active, although I'm not in person running every year, I make sure that I donate and contribute. I work closely with Sheila on the social media and marketing to continue to push out the messages of, Cornerstone Community Housing. I'm not originally from Baltimore, so it was a great opportunity to really understand, what was needed in my community and how I could help. This is the 16th year of this run. What would you guys like to tell, our audience, about the run, about, Cornerstone, formerly Housing, or, what would you like to share about your experience and your stories?
Well, one of the things well, you can't see me fully because I'm dressed to out for run after we talk. And we're involved in probably one of the whitest cities in the United States here in Portland, and had all the upheavals with the riots this summer, and which would have been a lot. We would have, Portland's such a liberal city and listens to protest a lot until the feds came in, and the so-called persons being fired from the White House soon put his nose into it too much and put gas on the fires. And we had many problems in Portland. And that constantly reminds me of the ongoing mission that Cornerstone continues to do with diversity. And it does it with a great deal of just staying at it. So that's one of the real pushes that I feel for it, for Earl's Place. Shouldn't tell Sheila this, but we just changed our wills again. We get the bucket, they get more. So it's an organization that really understands what diversity means, and it does it by serving others.
And for me personally, as you know, homelessness is a huge problem in the world and in the United States. And as I look around here at all the tents and the homeless people and think, oh, what a terrible problem. What can I do about it? It's a bigger problem than I can handle on my own. But I feel one of the reasons that we have stayed with Cornerstone, with Earl's Place, is that it's a way to help. We may not be solving the whole problem, but we're helping to solve part of the problem in a very constructive, good way. So that's why we continue to give money to Earl's Place when family members ask what they can do for Christmas and birthday gifts. Is we usually recommend that they donate money to Earl's Place in our name so that it keeps money coming in. So it's a great way to be involved and supportive of a big problem that we face and help a little bit to make things better for our fellow men.
And if anybody's listening to this right now, if we ever get a stimulus check, we send ours to Earl's Place.
What would you like to say to, future donors, to future volunteers, about, getting involved?
I don't know if there's any really a wise word or words. It's just to experience what Earl's Place is doing. And you get a picture of that at the Resolution Run by enjoying the men that serve the cornbread and chili. And yeah, you just start seeing the success stories and multiplying those. And Earl's Place isn't the only place that's doing success stories. So, it's some place you can plug in very well. But so that when you encounter other needs in your, around the city and other places, you have a reference to what you're doing and where the city needs to be. So,
and I think people should, it would be good for them to recognize that Earl's Place is really working, that it's having an impact on the people who are there, and that the money is being well spent. I have a feeling sometimes when I donate to organizations, what's going to happen to my money? Is it going to be wasted? Is it not going to get to the people it's supposed to serve? But Earl's Place is an example of an organization that's doing what it claims to do and is helping people move back into society, into their families. When I was board president, I instituted having a holiday dinner with the board and the men. I don't know if it's still going on, but I remember specifically one of the dinners that we had, and one of the men was saying, "Oh, I don't have any gifts to give my children." And I feel really badly about it because I just don't have the money to buy them. And one of the other men spoke up and said, "Look, you've already given them the greatest gift you could. You are back in their lives. And let that be your gift for this Christmas, that you have returned to them." And that was worth all I was doing right there, just to hear those kind of words. So so it has many rewards in many ways, and you can know that you're helping an organization that really is changing the lives of people.
Bruce, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you'd like to share today?
One of the things I like about the Resolution Run, I make 3 resolutions every year. One is not to run, another is not to eat chocolate, another one I won't tell you what it is. And my goal is to break them in 24 hours.
There's one fun little story. The first year we did the Resolution Run at 2:00 on the 1st of January, there was a group of men from Baltimore who went up to New York because there's a midnight run in Central Park in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Baltimore Roadrunners puts on a run early on the 1st
Up by Pearson's Plantation,
which is a timed run where you have to give your time, hand in your watch, and then the one who wins it is the one who's closest to the time he designated for it. And then there was the Resolution Run. So these men did the one in New York City, took the bus back down, did the early morning timed run, and then came and did the Resolution Run. So they had done by the afternoon already 3 runs in that year.
Wow, that's a resolution.
Yeah, so that was a way they, I think people who do that are motivating themselves to, set these goals and standards that
Thank you so much for your time, for your commitment to Cornerstone Community Housing, taking the time to chat with me today. It's been such a pleasure to meet you both. And I hope, we're actually planning to move to Portland soon. So if we're there, I hope to connect with you guys as well. And then maybe I'll be there on the finish line cheering for you too.
Well, thank you for doing this, and thank you for your work.
thank you for your help for Earl's Place.
So of course.
It all is necessary, all these parts coming together. So have a happy new year.
You two have a wonderful rest of the day. Have a happy new year. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today here at Cornerstone Community Housing with Bruce and Bob. They are incredible donors, sponsors, runners, and great advocates for Cornerstone Community Housing. It has been such a pleasure to chat with them today and really learn, the history of the Resolution Run, how it came to be, and, where we go in the future. To learn more about Cornerstone Community Housing, please go to cchbaltimore.org. Thank you so much and Happy New Year.